One of the interesting things right at the beginning of the book, where you actually go into, children, how children first get into that, and the attitude that it's probably been existing since the 70s. I might be wrong, but generally around saying, oh, you know what, let the kids figure it out.
Yes.
They will learn by figuring it out themselves. But actually, that's not quite right, is it? Because if you don't show them the alternative, they just go with their emotions and might end up in the wrong place and might not learn it. So how much do you see sometimes that lack of skill already being originated in our childhood by our first experiences?
Yeah, well, that was interesting because I do some maths on that, and I should add that as I was approaching this in layperson's terms, I've got no qualifications in psychology or child psychology, but one of the first ports of call, if you like, in my research was thinking about the amount of I have two other siblings, and I've got a brother who's quite close in age to me, and we used to fall out all the time. And my mum, bless her, would tear her hair out about that, and that got me and that got me to thinking about, okay, that's the seeker, because I like, I've enjoyed. It's definitely fair to say that I've enjoyed conflict in the past, and working around that was a self-improvement lesson as well for myself. But I was just trying to get to the seat of that, and I started looking at the frequency of childhood conflict, and that took me to the work of an American academic called Professor Laurie Kramer, who'd done so much work into that, and there's I'd have to read the exact maths, but she, over the long-term studies that she'd led, she said that childhood sibling conflict, there were at least 3 to 4, there were 3.5 instances of that on average per hour in every child with a sibling between the ages of 4 and 8, and that furthermore ate up about 10 minutes in every hour. And I started doing the maths on that, which Laurie Kramer hadn't done, and pretty much in between those age groups, it was 4,875 hours of pure conflict between the ages of 4 and 8. And of course, if you start factoring in middle childhood and then adolescence, then of course conflict gets wider. So my contention was that we've got so much practice in falling out with our nearest and dearest, and it's not just our siblings, but yet we haven't had the same counter skills in learning how to negotiate our way out of that. The hard pressed parenting does have there is a tendency to let children sort these things out for themselves, and really what parents need to be doing is stepping in and encouraging perspective taking. How would you feel if this happened to you, and getting kids to reflect on that, usually after the heat has dissipated somewhat, so not necessarily in the moment of the conflict, but a little later when you can you can review the situation after the aggression has died down. And the other interesting thing to that, as I compared it to, is that pretty much in the book, pretty much got to nearly 10,000 hours of conflict by the time you reach 15 or 16. And I compared that. I don't know if you guys have ever read Malcolm Gladwell's bestseller, which is Outliers, and that's way back 2007, 2000.
Yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah, 2007, I think. And where he did a whole load of maths around trying to spot why people became geniuses, and he did that from everybody from the Beatles to Bill Gates, and he worked out that to get to a genius level of whatever had made those people rich, or in whatever field of endeavor had made those people rich and or famous, they'd done roughly 10,000 hours of practice in it before they got to the tender age of 15 in Bill Gates' case. In his case, it was computer programming. And of course, I thought, well, okay. Well, then by that logic, then we're all geniuses at falling out with each other by the time we reach 16.